Want to know what the movers and shakers of New Hampshire's performing arts are thinking? Welcome to New Hampshire Unscripted with your host, Ray Dudley.
And this episode is part one of a two-parter that I had with Donald Tung of New World Theater. Little side note here, I happen to notice that sunset today is 4:16. 4:16 in the afternoon, sunset? Where the hell do we live? Antarctica? For God's sake. Anyway, so I sat down with Donald, and in this first parter, here's some interesting facts. He has a connection to the old Smothers Brothers show, which that connection is kind of responsible for the show being canceled. We get into some early years of him learning to write and having his love for writing develop. We get into the nuts and bolts of playwriting. We talk about what a dramaturg is and what the Dramatists Guild is and why it exists, and kind of the autonomy that a playwright has, which I really had no idea about. Then we're going to post part two shortly after. Stick around. Well, welcome.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. This is quite an honor.
Well,
you got quite a crew coming through here.
Yeah, it's pretty diverse.
It's quite the.
Well, you're long overdue. You're long overdue.
Thank you.
So, do you want to get into the main topic, or do you want to kind of talk about New World Theater in general, and then move into what?
And the main topic being.
You said you had something to reveal.
Oh yeah, no, I want to bury the lead at this point, but I think we can kind of put that off a little teaser.
Okay.
Some big news. Exclusive, yes, revealed here first on New Hampshire Unscripted.
Yeah. Okay, so let's go back and talk about your love for writing and where that comes from. Is that a family thing? Or?
Oh gosh, yeah. I attribute that to my father, who was a minister, so a very orator, in his.
Was that a local minister? Somebody who?
It was in Virginia. I actually grew up in Virginia.
Oh.
He was a pastor in the United Methodist Conference of Virginia, and moved around quite a bit growing up. But yeah, he could spin stories off the top of his head like nobody in there. But I mean, campfire.
Good pastor can.
Campfire ghost stories. I mean, we just sat there riveted for hours, listening to him just kind of spin off his, mysteries and whatnot. So yeah, from a young age, I often say, before I could even read or write, I would put paper in the typewriter and just start hitting keys like I was writing something.
Oh, that's cool.
And I just had this feeling like I just wanted to write, like make a story. So I'd be making stories in my head, of course, make gibberish on the paper. But yeah, from an early age, I can just remember my father's typewriter being a big fascination, of course.
So do you think basically that it was your affection for how the people reacted to his stories that enticed you?
Yeah, probably. Yeah. And how I reacted myself, just being riveted by it. And he would often, big reader to us at night. He would pull out the Narnia series and Tolkien and all those sort of great fantasy series of those at
funny
the
how
60s.
They get so ingrained at an early age like that, right?
Yeah, and just enjoyed the written word, as it were, and how it could just take you anywhere as you're sitting there.
So after you're a monkey at the keyboard thing,
right.
where you didn't write anything,
that's right.
Where did you go for that? How did that?
1,000 monkeys.
That's right.
Gosh, Okay, so
college? Were you writing in college or high school?
No, my first story was how the world became round when I was like 7 or so, and I can kind of remember all my little ventures. But my first playwriting was actually in high school, where I wrote a play for a class. It was sort of open writing kind of thing, and this idea came to me about who was it? The guy that wrote Pogo. Do you remember that? I Go Pogo?
I don't know Pogo.
Yeah. Anyway, I heard an interview with his wife once saying that he often said, God isn't dead, he's just unemployed. So I just got this idea of, having God show up in an unemployment office. And so I wrote it and handed it in, and the English teacher said, I want to talk to you after class. I'm like, well, great, she must really like it. And she goes, Don, you can't plagiarize things and turn them in as your own. I'm like, I'm sorry, but this is my own. And she just didn't believe me,
No kidding.
It was that good, I was like, oh, thank you.
Okay, that's kind of a left-handed compliment.
Yeah, left-handed compliment. But so I took it, and it's funny because I look back at it, and then 2006, I decided to start writing plays, and I remembered that. I'm like, boy, I should have taken that up as a clue back in high school.
Right.
That maybe I had something there. But yeah, in 2006, I don't know, I just kind of got back into writing. Prior to that, actually, my college years, you asked about my college years, I was actually a classical guitar major in college. I have a degree in classical guitar performance.
Really?
In music, yes. Entered the Shenandoah Conservatory in 79. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, 79. It's been, how many years is that?
Too many.
Yeah, right. Actually, as a composition major originally, with classical guitar as my major instrument. But then I switched over to performance and graduated in 83 with a degree in performance from Crane School of Music, Potsdam, New York. So, yeah, I had, music and stuff. And I go back because my brother was a big musician. Still is, actually. And he was doing things in New York City for a while. His group, he didn't appear, but his group appeared on the Smothers Brothers show.
I love the Smothers Brothers.
And okay, side story. So his song he wrote is actually attributed as taking the Smothers Brothers off the air.
What?
Yes.
But why?
There's a YouTube video if you want to look it up.
I do.
So he wrote a song called Anthem about, and it was the tune was the national anthem played backwards. And the song was, I'm going to prison for what I believe. And it was about being a conscientious objector to the Vietnam War back in the 60s. And it was banned in Ohio. And
the song was?
Yeah, the song was banned in Ohio. And the Smothers Brothers, my brother was actually in the process of being prosecuted as a conscientious objector, and actually ended up spending a year in prison as a conscientious objector.
No kidding.
So he wasn't with the group when they performed on the Smothers Brothers show, but the day after they performed the song Anthem, which again was an anti-war song, and about not going to war but being a conscientious objector, the word is that Nixon called up the president of CBS and told him to take him off the air. Because you remember that show just went off the air like that.
Yeah.
It was a huge hit.
I
Everyone loved it.
It was so funny.
And then it was canceled. It was canceled the day after his song was performed.
That's fascinating.
So, sorry, guys.
That is fascinating.
Yeah,
That's a great tidbit.
Yeah. So a little family history there. So his love of music and my dad's love of storytelling, I just kind of got caught up in both of them. And so I really enjoyed music, pursued music pretty, getting through college and whatnot. And then, I got in the theater back in the 90s for the first time. Actually, kind of in a musical vein, performing in Pirates as a pirate, Pirates of Penzance. My wife was performing Mabel, and so they needed pirates, 95. And down in Derry, New Hampshire, an old company used to be around called Opera Fest, produced a production there. Actually, it was one of the first productions back in the old Derry Opera House when they were sort of bringing it back as a actual venue back in the 90s. And I loved it. I just had such a ball, and being, cat like tread upon a previous it was a gas. So I just started kind of, auditioning and doing different stuff.
So there was a gap there between your graduation and then the 90s.
Yeah.
What was going on there? You didn't pursue either music or writing?
Yeah, I was working, had a family,
Life kind of
2 kids, dog, kind of thing.
Yeah, I get it.
And so I was kind of, pursuing different, creative things, but it wasn't like, I got kind of this theater bug in me once I got on stage.
So, but not the writing bug at the time, right? Just acting?
Just acting,
Okay.
just acting. And then did some directing, and like all of us, we've all had worn many hats, and doing different things, producing. And then I was in a show in, it was Christmas of 2006. I was cast as Bob Cratchit against this lovely young lady, 20 years my junior, as Mrs. Cratchit. And I just loved the sort of the mismatch of the whole thing, and it just seemed comical. And often in community theater you have these mismatches of things going on stage. And I just this play just came to me, and the title Scene Changes came to me, and it was really kind of just an episodic. It ended up with like 7 scenes. It's just sort of episodic moments throughout a production, from like first rehearsal to a cast party kind of thing, and it was a lot of fun. It wasn't very good, my first attempt at it.
Was it a full play, full act? Full...
Yeah, it was kind of a full play. 7 scenes and whatnot, but just got the bug kind of going. I really kind of enjoyed it, and so I pursued some writing courses, some playwriting courses. Worked with some dramaturgs in New York City, and just sort of just kept at it for a while. And
so, for anybody who doesn't understand the term, can you define dramaturg?
Dramaturg. Okay, so dramaturg is someone you take your script to, and they're often a playwright themselves, so they know a good bit of what's involved in this craft. Though they don't have to be. They could be someone. Actually, there's degrees in dramaturgy now, where you can get a degree in sort of pulling apart a script and just kind of looking at what I call the beats of the play, and seeing in the Aristotle kind of analysis, poetics, is there strong action throughout the play? Is there central action, that is presented from the beginning, that has an arc through the play? Are there sub-actions throughout the play that have events, and the event is when either the action, the person, what they're pursuing, they get, or they don't get, or another interesting resolution is they decide, it really wasn't that important after all. They come to a higher realization of what they wanted, or what they thought they wanted. So that's kind of what a dramaturg does. They look at the structure of the piece and really pull it apart and try to figure out, does it have a clear dramatic structure? You can write, and that's, in my early plays, in the first play I was talking about, dialogue goes on and on and on and on and on and on. But there's no action being pressed forward, nothing really being pursued other than interesting dialogue.
So this is a little bit different than say, vetting your play, where just other people read it and say, okay, you need a comma here,
Yeah, definitely. It's
much deeper.
Oh yeah, definitely deeper. Looking for inconsistencies, where as you're writing plays, you write something in one scene and you write something in another scene. You go back and go, yeah, those are kind of inconsistent. They don't really match. So you got to kind of clear up the inconsistencies. And so,
well, I guess sometimes you wouldn't see that because you're too close to the piece.
Well, you're too close to the piece, or you just, you forgot. You're just kind of writing. Yeah. You're just kind of, as I say, spewing it out into the keyboard, and sometimes you just kind of, forget. Oh yeah, I wrote that back here. I got to kind of clean that up here. Mm-hmm. So this is all about rewriting and getting the piece to kind of gel overall. So yeah, it's interesting work. And another thing a dramaturg does, if it's a historic piece, they look at the history, see if it matches, the historic period that you're kind of trying to fit, or if it's a particular place, if the names and things like that. So they kind of vet it, as far as those kinds of things as well. So there's, definitely interesting role dramaturgs play. And I've actually been working with one recently on the big news play we're going to talk about coming up.
So you were writing, and this is still your early years. Mm-hmm. Anything come out of that you...
Yeah. So, And again, it's just one of these things, you keep pushing the stone up the hill kind of thing.
Good analogy.
Yeah, I kind of worked at, finding groups. I joined a group in near Boston called the Playwrights Platform that does an annual festival at the Boston Playwrights Theater at BU. So I kind of, joined them in 2009. It was fall of 2008. And then had a play of mine produced in their festival the following spring, 2009. And they were sponsored by Hoyer Publishing, the festival was. And after the festival, one of the playwrights said, I sure really like my play. And she said, you should just, go ahead and submit it to Hoyer and see what they say. And so I submitted it, and practically, it wasn't more than a day or two, I got a call from the president saying, I really like this. I want to publish it.
Really?
You got anything else? Yeah. So.
Well, that's prestigious.
So yeah, that was very good. It's called Void. First production was again at the Boston Playwrights Theater, starring our good friend Toby Paul.
Oh yeah.
And Eric Broderick and Meredith. Oh gosh, her last name's I'm sorry, Meredith. It's been so long. And directed by John Safel. Good friend of mine.
And where was this performed?
Boston Playwrights Theater.
It was?
Yeah, right there at BU.
Okay.
It's their, it's the theater used for their MFA program, playwriting program. But the platform had at one point, I actually produced their 40th anniversary festival. Yeah, they've been going on since the 60s and not. So yeah, they've been their kind of established sort of annual festival there, which was kind of neat. So I participated in a number of those, and I produced 2 of them for them. Wow. And so yeah, that was it was short plays. These are like 10-minute, 15-minute plays at most. Festival, different works.
So that was your first published piece, The Void?
It was Void, and as I said, he asked for more. I sent him 2 more, and he published those. And those pieces actually had never been performed. I had just written them, but they really liked them. One called School Portrait Monologues, another one, Genesis. And so, yeah, those are 3 works I have. Actually, I have 4 works now published by Hoyer. Fishbowl, which, getting into the following year, I sent a piece off to a theater in New York, the Manhattan Repertory Theater. And they were going up with this was like Saturday night, I think. I sent it in. The guy calls me and says, yeah, I really like it. Can you have it up by next week? It's a short play, 20 minutes, about 20-minute piece. I'm going, yeah, why not? So I'm trying to think of the timeline here, because I went to my boss and said I need to take the week off. I had my son, who was in New York, going to Manhattan School of Music, had some friends that he knew who are actors, 2 of which kind of fit into the 2 male roles. Then we found a female who was fantastic, really, fast, off-book kind of person. So it's 3 characters, and we rehearsed it at the 7th Avenue Studios. There's a studio there on 7th Avenue for like $60 an hour. You can kind of, rent it, and beautiful spaces. In fact, one day we were there, and the guy says, Judy Garland's across the hall, so, just keep it down.
Really?
Yeah. So she was rehearsing something there.
Brothers.
Yeah. Judy Garland. So, yeah, not Judy Garland. I'm sorry.
Had she died by then?
Yeah, no. Yeah. People are going to be really like, hold on here.
He doesn't know what he's
talking about. Gosh, help me. Sound of Music.
Julie Andrews?
Julie Andrews. Thank you. I knew it was a Julie somebody.
Yeah.
Boy, my mind's totally...
It's early.
It's early. This is my coffee.
Yes.
Where's my coffee?
Where is your coffee? You had your coffee with you.
So, yeah, it was great. We met every day for that week, to rehearse it and get it up for the show at the Manhattan Repertory Theater. Ran that weekend.
How was the attendance?
It was anywhere between 20, 30. It was a really small theater.
That's not bad for something no one had ever seen.
It was maybe 50 seats. And again, this was a sort of a festival of short plays. Mine was like 20 minutes. They had some other plays, so it wasn't just my play going on. It was a festival of short things. but it was really good. It was great experience, to kind of just jump in there and just do it.
And you have to say it was performed in New York.
And yeah, you can say it performed in New York and right on 42nd Street.
That's great.
Right there, right off Times Square, little theater there. And just passed by there recently. I was down in the city. I was like, oh yeah, they've moved to another spot now, but I was kind of remembering that little spot there. And probably one of my best compliments came from that. I was outside the theater chatting with the actors and whatnot. It may have been like after the last performance, and probably just trying to decide where to go afterwards and stuff. And someone mentioned that, I had written the play Fishbowl that was presented. And this guy comes over to me and goes, "Thank you for giving me a reason to go to the theater."
Oh.
It's like, all right. I'll take it.
Well, yeah.
It's just, nobody, I didn't know the guy, but he just he says, wow. He was just like really appreciative of, the whole thing. And I was like, you're welcome.
Nice.
Yeah,
really nice.
It was nice feeling. So yeah, that's, and again, not long after that, I sent it off to Hoyer and they published it. So yeah, just, lots of things. And then.
So where does New World Theater come from?
Well, that's a good question. Where does that come from?
I'm hoping you have the answer, because I don't.
Oh, okay, all right. One of us got to know what's going on here. So yeah, that you've heard of the Dramatists Guild, I'm sure.
Yes.
Yeah, I remember the Dramatists Guild. And not too long ago, they had their first national convention in Virginia, and I didn't go, but they nicely put up the.
Go ahead. I was just going to say, if you get a chance, explain to people who may not know who the Dramatists Guild is.
Oh, the Dramatists Guild. Okay, so playwrights are a member of a guild as opposed to a member of a union. You have the writers' union, the screenwriters' union, and whatnot. A guild is different. In a guild, you maintain control of your creative output. You don't sell it, you license it. Whereas in a union, you're an employee, and what you write is owned by the people that employ you. So that's the difference of the guild. The guild basically stands for retaining all your rights to the piece. Even though you may have it published by somebody and they license it for you, through their publishing and negotiate.
Like French or something.
Yeah, like French, and Hoyer licenses my plays. You still own it. And interesting fact, a playwright has first right of refusal to direct.
What?
Yeah. I was listening to Albee one time, and he was talking about how some high school was going to do Virginia Woolf or something, and he decided, you know what, I want to direct that. And so he showed up and directed it.
What?
And you can do that as a playwright. If someone decides to do your play, you can show up and say, I'm going to direct it. Or if you don't like the director, you can say, no, they can't direct my play. Again, there's incredible...
That's
people don't know this, but playwrights have full control. They have control over casting.
Really?
Yeah. They can say, no, that person is not representing my work, and, whatever. So, yeah, there's quite a bit of power that playwrights
I had no idea.
have.
I thought you handed off and it's out there for anyone to
use. It is. I mean, it is. And they, people license it. And, right, do playwrights exercise these powers? Generally not. Mm-hmm. But they are there, and they're backed up by the guild. As a guild member, if you decide to do that and they push back, the guild will step in and, kind of put the power of the guild behind it.
So that's a good function for a group to have, though.
It is, and it's primarily to protect you for your creative output again and what you're doing. It's unique in that regards. Again, you're never selling your work, unlike artists, who sell their work, or performers who sell their performances. So yeah, it's kind of an interesting dynamic there.
Well, that whole world of IP, intellectual property rights, is fascinating.
It
itself.
is, yeah.
There's a lot of controversy over people stealing stuff.
Right, yeah. And actually, I was down in New York this past summer for a producers workshop held by True. It's Theater Resources Unlimited organization down there that helps people produce their works and whatnot and find the resources they need. And they were saying that, the Dramatists Guild says all this stuff, but then the directors I guess is it a Directors Guild? I can't remember. It was a Directors Union. I don't know. But anyway, they say the total opposite. No, playwright doesn't have right. So there's a bit of controversy between the groups. Contention between who really holds the power here.
Anyway. Someday they'll duke it out.
That's right.
So I'm sorry I interrupted you.
So where was that?
You joined the Dramatists Guild.
Yeah, I joined the Dramatists Guild. So the Dramatists Guild held this conference in Virginia, and the keynote speaker was Molly Smith of Arena Stage. And again, I didn't attend, but they put it up online so you could hear the different segments of it. And so I was listening to the keynote, and she mentioned that Arena Stage is very big on new work development. They have an actual series where they have fellowships for playwrights. They pay them like $70,000 a year and give them a housing, and it's a big deal there, and really try to give them the space and the time to do their work. So she's up there talking, and the thing that stuck in my mind is she says it takes 3 performances before a work is finished.
3 performances, not just 3 readings.
3, exactly. That's what stuck with me. She didn't say readings or 3 rewrites or 3 performances before a work is finished. And it kind of got me thinking that, okay, so I can sit here and write, I can sit here and have readings and maybe a workshop production of, kind of script in hand and a little more than just a reading, but it's not really going to be done until you've actually put it on stage. So this is where New World Theater comes in, where I decided, you know what, and this is where I would say a good number of playwrights are going, just deciding, you know what, I just got to produce this thing to really put it through its paces, really see what's working and what isn't working, and just figure out, the mechanics of it, because it's a collaborative art form that we're doing here.
Right.
It's not just the writer sitting in a room writing. It's got to be put on its feet. You got to have designers, you got to have lighting and all this stuff, sets, props. Props are huge. As an actor,
yeah.
Props are just huge.
Yeah.
And it just informs so many different things. Probably one of my biggest, I think one of my successes was because of a prop, a tablecloth.
Really?
Yes.
Something so mundane.
So mundane, but it became such a central part of the play that it just wouldn't be there if it wasn't. And the play just, it just works so well. There's just so many elements that, again, you just can't get sitting in a room writing. So this is in 2015. I produced my play Scene Changes, which by the time I wrote it in 2006 to 2015, it totally changed, gone from 7 scenes to 3, through the suggestion of a dramaturg. I flipped it. I had originally had an older gentleman playing Bob Cratchit and a younger woman playing Mrs. Cratchit, and I flipped it. So I have the older person playing Mrs. Cratchit and a younger guy playing Bob Cratchit, and it works so much better. And it was like one of the biggest suggestions that I've ever gotten.
Can you stop it for a minute and just tell us why? Why did it work better? What was happening in that dynamic?
Well, I think for one thing, there's a bit of the older gentleman, younger woman kind of thing is a little hard to pull off now. I mean, it was kind of something that you see in Educating Rita is the only thing that comes to mind. But, certain things like that where you have this sort of older male, younger female thing. And I think it just has just laden with connotations that just aren't working today.
Got you.
It's kind of like Pretty Woman, the movie Pretty Woman, which they made into a musical.
Yeah, Richard Gere.
I was talking to somebody and I said, they couldn't make Pretty Woman today. And then I swear, it was like the next week I heard they were turning it into a musical. I'm like, no, you can't do that. I was like, why did I put that into the universe?
Do not play the lottery, Donald. You're not going to do it.
So it just flipping that dynamic just really worked well. And I can get into a lot of other things about it, but, actually producing that play at the Hatbox next August.
You are?
Yeah, it'll be my second production of it.
All right, getting close to 3.
Yeah, getting close to 3. Done some rewrites and really feeling good about it. So yeah, that's where I started in 2015. Great group, the Letty Center and Elaine Gatchell and Bruce. Worked with them for a number of years and doing different shows out there and stuff. And I gave her the script of Scene Changes, and I said, you're kind of quiet in January. Maybe we could put this on out there. And she read it. She loved it. She said, yeah, bring it. So I was able to actually produce. They pretty much had produced all their stuff. It was just them. But she gave me this space and sort of a time slot, end of January, February, to produce the work. And so it was really a gift.
This was in its newest iteration?
Yes, it was in its newest iteration. Okay. Yeah, and it hasn't really changed much since that production, but I've done definitely some reworking of things. So it's hard as a playwright. You just got trying to put it down sometimes. But it's like, don't read it. You're just going to change something. You are. So, but that's the fun too. Just kind of always seeing new things that you can bring out. So, yeah, that was kind of the beginning of New World Theater. I just decided, to start producing my own stuff and started working with some other playwrights. Let's see.
So can I stop you there for a second? You said you wanted to start producing your own stuff. Did you have a slate of things that you had written that you were hoping to get into production? Or were you thinking, I want to start writing? This would be an impetus to start creating.
I had some fair drafts. I think Scene Changes is probably the most well-developed and ready to go as far as a production. I had some other things that needed work before getting to that point. So this was 2015, and as we're finishing up Scene Changes, I get this brainstorm. I'm like, okay, so the presidential season is coming up, election season, primary season, in 2016, the following year. And I just started riffing on the idea of 2 primary candidates from the 2 major parties, and wrote this play called Candid Candidate that went up in January of 2016 at the Letty Center. And it was the first thing I'd kind of sat down and thought, okay, what's the climate? What's happening in the universe? What can I write that would kind of fit what's going on? And I kept it totally, there's no mention of political parties in the play. There's no mention, there's a bit of references to candidates and stuff in the real world, but it's pretty in its own world, but kind of spoofing the whole, what goes into political campaigns nowadays, what the pretzel logic that, candidates have to go through to figure out how to, get to the end goal.
Yeah, right.
It's like, oh, I'm in the primaries, I can say this, but when I get to here, I can say this. It's like, so it's this whole thing of just playing the public. So you have the one candidate who's playing the typical outsider, the no BS candidate, Bob Roberts, and he's just, the total, against the establishment, candidate, rah-rah. And the other one is totally pandering and trying to figure out, which way the public's going and, making sure he's not saying
wet finger in the air.
Finger in the air. As his wife said, she's known weather vanes that hold a steadier course than him. So this all happens, and then, so who's the candid candidate? And that's what comes out in the piece, that one of the candidate's wives, who just can't help but speak her mind, ends up jumping into the race against her husband. And the other candidate's wife supports her. And so they end up, kind of leading this campaign, and then the husbands decide, well, we're going to join forces, and so they, so it becomes, the 2 wives and 2 husbands. And so it's about a lot of things. It's about women empowerment. It's about, seeing women in roles of power and leadership, and, trying to, knock that down. In one of the candidates' husbands, I see, while he's not necessarily sexist, there's latent sexism there that just, it just comes. We all have these things that we just kind of had these, when we start to dig into them, we see, I guess I am a kind of a little, or what I said was a little prejudiced, kind of thing,
Yeah.
And so it kind of points those things out. It points out the unhelpful role the media plays in the whole mess of, focusing on the gotchas. Look at him, he's riding around in a tank with a helmet, or he's trying to snowboard, or, whatever, or he gets really excited in Iowa and just goes, yeehaw, and just like.
All those candidates, I think.
Yeah, so, it's just all those things that the media just, it's like unimportant, but they just, So, yeah, it's a fun little piece. That was my second piece that I put out there.
And has it only been done once?
It was done at the Letty Center in January, and then I reworked it and actually produced it at the Hatbox in their first season in 2016. So yeah, it kind of got a nice development process that 1 year.
So if it gets performed one more time, it's good?
Yeah, right. We're ready to go.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and then I started working with a collective of playwrights, formed that in, somewhere, I guess probably about 2016, 2017, started working with some other playwrights, just as a group to kind of bounce things off of each other and talk about our plays and what we're working on, and give some, we call peer reviews and whatnot, and then started doing some readings, private readings of things. And that's where probably New World Theater really started to gel as sort of, a group that's going to start developing new works and really be a place for playwrights to come and work together in this collaborative process of the writing part of it. Held a master class in 2018 with playwrights from 3 in California, 1 in Toronto, a couple here in the Northeast, and met online for 10 weeks, and then held a master class at the Hatbox with my key dramaturg I work with, Stuart Spencer, teaches at Sarah Lawrence University. That was really great. And actually, the book that we just published this summer, Unparalleled, are the 8 works from that masterclass series. So there we go. The book, Unparalleled, now available on Amazon. So yeah, I did the masterclass. We then did a monologue submission to create a series of monologues called A Solitary Voice, 18 monologues. And these are not audition monologues.
Why? What's the difference, and why would they not be?
They are performance monologues to be performed, primarily just because they're too long. Most of them are. Some might be audition length, but most of them are I have one mine in there. It's like about 6 minutes, at least. You're looking at a 6-minute monologue.
Yeah, they don't give you 6 minutes.
No, they don't give you 6 minutes. So, and like to, I haven't had a chance. We pitched it at the Hatbox of doing this complete set of monologues as a performance, as a production. Yeah, thought would be fun, and
not to be confused with the vagina monologues.
Correct.
Got you.
Yes.
Got you. Just wanted to make that clear.
Right.
So do you think this would work as an evening of entertainment? Yeah,
I think it would. I think it would be very interesting. They're very diverse, very, quite a different number of voices and situations being presented through it out. And I think it could be very interesting to present it. Definitely challenging. But, it comes down to a light and an actor, kind of situation. Yeah. Obviously some props probably throughout, but it's just putting it down to its barest elements.
How many are in here?
18, yeah. And didn't really have any idea how many we were going to include, but it just kind of felt we kind of settled on these 18 as being.
So are there more that you culled these 18 from? Or
we had I think all over 50
seriously
submissions.
Wow.
For that. So yeah, not an easy process to whittle them down, but
well, you could always have volume 2.
Yeah, that's right. That's what. Actually, I'm thinking of that. Yeah, looking at.
Good for you.
Doing some more of that. So yeah, we got publishing, we got the Solitary Voice, Unparalleled, and our first anthology of works was called It's Academic, which is a set of 4 short works around different academic situations and scene scenarios. And 2 of those were from the gentleman who I started the collective with, the Playwrights Collective with, Bill Ivers and Walter Freeman. Both wrote short works. They're both actually high school English teachers, so that's where they kind of came up with the idea of having a theme about academia for the first collection. And then we reached out for other people to submit and got a play from Jack Neary that's included in that, and another playwright from Boston, John Minigan. So,
dude, you are on a roll.
So yeah, had that as our first publication, and we produced that last summer at the Hatbox as a evening of theater. Those 4 short works, and it worked really well. It was a good production. The pieces really actually worked pretty well together as a collection in one evening. So that was a lot of fun.
It has to be tougher to put together a collection as opposed to one play.
You mean as far as producing it?
Yeah.
Yeah. You had a professor, college. I think some of the settings, as long as you have a door and a desk, right. One was in the classrooms. We had to have, student desks, but fortunately these guys are teachers, so they were able to bring in the desks from school and use them. But yeah, I think having it around a central theme helps, if you're going to do that, so that the settings kind of are similar.
Are you getting good attendance? Are people intrigued? Are they... I know you don't depend on it because of the nature of the beast, but
right.
I'm just curious if are people starting to warm up to seeing things that they don't know anything about, seeing things that are under construction. How are you finding that to be?
That's a tough nut to crack, and it's not bad. We certainly have had our ups and downs as far as what the audiences have been, but it's not easy. It's a even on Broadway, it's a tough sell to bring in unknown work with no star. If you don't have a star attached to it, you're like, good
That's why
luck.
they attach stars to
them. Yeah, right.
So
That's why they attach stars to them, right? So you can actually Bryan Cranston and that
right.
there,
right.
Bryan Cranston. So yeah, it's not easy, but you run your theater company, Square Pegs. You have your mission. I'm going to turn the tables. What's your mission for Square Pegs?
Well, ours is to produce quality, unique things, maybe that have not been seen publicly, or that we think are very unique in their genre, in their whatever. And so, kind of like this, it's a very segmented market because we don't, for the most part, do anything that is very well known. That's why we did Theophilus North. We did True.
Yeah. Oh, I wish I'd seen Theophilus North.
Oh, it was great. You would have loved
kicking
it.
myself.
Nah, it's all right. It's all right. So like you, it falls under that same kind of an umbrella.
Yeah.
You would love for a large audience to see them, especially when they're done well, but you kind of know you're not gonna.
Right.
They're not gonna. There's no line waiting when you show up.
Right. It's not Annie. It's not.
Right. Right.
A Christmas Carol.
Right. No offense, Scott. No offense to anybody else.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, you're right.
It's tough. At least you're doing things by people who are have had their productions, may not hear, but they've been produced. You did. What was the one you did? The Hatbox.
We did God of Carnage.
God of Carnage, right? That was done on Broadway, and had some good reviews, and there was a movie made of it,
right?
And so it's not totally unknown,
correct?
But
correct.
Yeah, still trying to get people through the door for theater that they have no prior knowledge of.
And in your case, it's not just a matter of putting a show up and being happy with that. You actually, I don't want to say need, but it's nice to get feedback. Your stuff is so innovative, so fresh, that you almost have to have some kind of honest input from the people who do show up and see it.
Right.
You hope.
Right. Yeah. And you have to be, honest yourself. You have to take your blinders off and really examine what's going on. And is this working? And is this really hitting the marks?
That has to be tough too.
And
to stand back from your own work. And
it is, and it often takes time, to just kind of step away from it for a while and then come back to it, and then you kind of go, oh yeah, now I see. That beat just wasn't.
Honestly, I don't have that gene in me that allows me to put something out there. It's fine. Like as an actor, you do that. But to put something out there and know it's not finished. And you need the honesty of people, friends, peers, to kind of nudge you along the way, or be brutally honest, depending on what they are, but so that you can change it up, so you can rework it and make it better. I'm too fragile,
and you've got to be open to that too.
That's my point. I couldn't do it. I don't have
one of the things. I like the group of playwrights we work with because they all are very open to constructive criticism, and open to someone saying that really isn't working, but not necessarily taking every suggestion as gospel though.
Right.
That's the other thing you got to do. You got to kind of somebody will say something and you got to kind of think about it and
because you can't take everyone because you'll go crazy.
Oh, right. You can't satisfy everybody.
Right.
Right. Everybody's going to have some sort of perspective. They're bringing everyone's got their own filters that they're putting their stuff through, and so
that's why there's vanilla ice cream and chocolate.
Exactly. So yeah, it's tough. Yeah. So sometimes you're putting stuff out there that is maybe not clicking on all cylinders just yet, but it's getting close. You're getting that engine tuned, as it were, to get it ready to really hum along. So
let me ask you, if you don't mind me stopping here for a second.
No.
What is the ultimate goal for yourself? I guess maybe the answer differs for playwrights. Are you hoping to have a play that goes to Broadway, or ultimately gets that type of recognition, or are you satisfied with just freeing it out into the world? You've unencumbered your soul with this work, and you're very proud of it now, and you can let it go. What, as a playwright, what's your goal there?
And there you go, another great one in the tank. That one's going off to the memorial. Have a great day.